In today's episode, what we're going to be focusing on is building confidence within you. That is building that belief in you so that you can step into your power and accomplish those sports ambitions and dreams. So don't go anywhere. I'll be with you very shortly. Hey there, welcome to Ambition Habits with Tiff. So happy to see you here. It's very exciting. I love talking about how to build confidence within, because if we're confident, we can go out there and achieve our ambitions, whatever they may be, in what we want to accomplish in our sport and our life. So very excited about today's episode. If you haven't gone through that Building Your Self-Confidence Part 1 and gone through that 7-level why process, I thoroughly recommend that you do that first before listening to this episode, simply because what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be uncovering what it is that's actually holding you back from accomplishing your ambitions in your sport, and what's holding you back from building that confidence inside you so that you can take on whatever it is that you want to take on in sport and obviously in life. So I thoroughly recommend that you do that first, but if not, you haven't listened to it yet, you're still most welcome to listen to this episode. But when you work through the questions, just make sure you do that episode before you do this one, okay? Working through those questions. So we talked about what confidence is in the last episode, and really what I believe confidence is really a lack of confidence in yourself. So it's a lack of belief within you. You don't think that you're good enough, you don't think you can participate in something, you don't think you can achieve something, you don't think that you can perform well in something, you don't think that you can be as good as someone else because you're too busy comparing yourself to someone else. So there's a lot of these messages, self-talk that you're actually putting into your mind of what your truths are. So your truth is maybe I can't play sport, or I can't catch, or I've never been good enough at sport, or I was hopeless at sport growing up. And as you're getting older, you want to participate in a sport, but you're like, oh, well, I couldn't do it then. How am I going to be able to do that now? So you can see like the messages that you're actually giving yourself is that story you're telling yourself that you're just not good enough. So therefore then you're walking into learning something and going, well, I wasn't good enough when I was younger. Why would I be good enough when I'm older? And I don't want you to walk in with that attitude, because what we want to be able to do is rewire our thinking, because it's only what you've developed over time, that perception of what you think you are, because of the stories that you've actually told yourself, that you're not good enough, you could never play sport, you were hopeless as a child, whatever those stories that you were telling yourself. So what we want to be looking at is ways in which we can improve on that, okay? So that you can step into your power, you can step into believing in yourself, you can step into building that confidence in you, so that you're working on participating in a sport that you'd love to participate in, achieving whatever that ambition is for that sport, and feeling really good about it. Because the thing is we want to feel really good about ourselves when we go and play sports, so we need to work on ways in which we can do that. And the first thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is we're working on what's actually going up in our mind here, okay? So that's number one. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to give you some exercises around that. There was a great book written by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and there's a great quote by him: if you think you can, you are right, and if you think you can't, you are right. So that's all based around belief, isn't it? So if you think you can accomplish something or do something, well, that's right, because you believe that you can. If you believe that you can't accomplish something, then you are right also, because that's what your belief is that you believe that you can't accomplish something. So we've got to be really looking at the language in how we're speaking, because those are creating those stories on what's actually going on with you, and that might be actually what's actually holding you back. So like I said, in that first part one of the Building Your Self-Confidence was all about making sure that we're becoming aware of actually what was going on. We're creating some awarenesses of how we're actually speaking. Now we're going to be working on ways in which we can start developing belief, okay? Because if you don't believe in yourself, it affects everything that you do. Okay, it affects the way you obviously participate in a sport. It affects how you operate in life. It affects how you operate in work situations. It affects you how you operate with other people around you. It affects you how you operate with around your family and so on, because of the messages, the information, the stories that you're telling yourself. So we're going to be working on that today. So before we actually get into that, I'm just going to share a quick story with you about the lack of belief. If you haven't heard my story before, my story was me as I grew up as being a tennis player, because that's what I wanted to be, a professional tennis player, travel the world, live the dream, you know, because I fell in love with tennis. It was my ultimate goal in my life, my ultimate ambition. As I got older, especially teenager, 15, 16, you know, very impressionable age, very self-conscious. I believed what everyone was telling me, that I was hopeless, useless, not good enough, all of that kind of thing, never make it, and so on. So that was the story I kept telling myself. I kept winning tournaments in that age group and so on. I won a lot of great tournaments. But as I got older and older, sort of like 18, 19, I was just not performing out on the court. By the time I turned 20, I was playing overseas, and I just told myself, because I couldn't get through the first round in tournaments, I just said, oh, well, you're just not good enough, right? But what I discovered was that when I really looked back at it years later, I had no belief in me. I didn't think I was good enough. I used to talk myself down. I used to tell myself I was hopeless. I used to say, of course you couldn't win because you're not just not good enough. I look at everybody's laughing at you. I was worried about what other people thought when they were watching me. I was nervous playing against the other person. I'd get so nervous I'd freeze, and I didn't know how to cope with the nerves, even though I wanted it so badly, and I trained so hard. And I put so much effort into the physical training. I didn't realise it was the mental stuff that actually held me back out on the court, and that's why I was losing the matches. Great in practice, under pressure, couldn't perform, didn't know why. Okay, so years later, I discovered when I took up golf that I had some tennis demons. So I went to work on building that belief, because that was the thing that was holding me back. So now when you see me, I appear very confident and have a huge belief in myself in anything that I do, but I have been working on it for years, I can guarantee you, and it is a daily process that I work myself through in order to make sure that I am feeling confident, I have full belief in me, and then I just go out there and accomplish my ambitions. So I want that for you. So I'm going to show you ways in which we can do that over time through these episodes, but what we're going to be focusing on today is how we're going to build belief. Okay, so what we're going to be working on in belief, I've actually got a whole chapter written on that in my book, Focus: How to Reach Your Potential in Sport, Business and Life. The chapter is called Believe in You, Trust You, because that's what's really about, is that's the lack of trust within, because for whatever reason you don't think you're good enough or you'll never make it and so on. So we're going to be working through a few questions in that book. I'm going to give you some exercises to do with that, share a little story in the book as well, and then you're going to do those questions, and then you're going to give me some feedback and tell me what you're actually going to be focusing on. Okay, so what we're going to be focusing on, this is on page 37, and I'm just going to be talking about what will happen if you don't believe in you. We're going to go through this little paragraph here, and then I have a series of questions that we're actually going to be working through so that we can then work on building that belief, okay? So what will happen if you won't believe in you? Well, let's talk about you. We talked about going after your ultimate dream in the first chapter, and here I am now asking what will happen if you won't believe in you. Really, what will happen? You heard my story about my complete lack of belief in me, but what about you? I can tell you what will happen. You won't achieve your ambitions, that's for sure. You'll be angry, you'll be frustrated, possibly aggressive, depressed, devastated, alone, and no one will understand how you're feeling. I do, because I've been there. They won't get it. It will affect how you treat yourself and how you treat people around you. You won't have any respect for anyone because you have lost respect for yourself. You will attract people who will control you, tell you what to do, put you down, bully you, and of course you'll believe everything they say, because why would you be right? You'll always see yourself as wrong. You won't go after anything or push yourself. You'll just fall into whatever comes along because you'll be lost. Everything that you have ever wanted is no longer there on the path because you gave up on you. That's right, you gave up on you. Okay, so what we're going to be focusing on right now is this next question. I want you to get out a journal, if you've got a journal or a notebook, and you're going to write the answer to this question. Of course, I want you to write out the question as well. So what will happen if I don't believe in me? So I want you to understand and to become aware that if you don't believe in you, you're going to miss out and live life with regret. I understand that one. It took me to the age of 45 to come to terms with never being the tennis player I wanted to be. I was at an online marketing event in Thailand and I was listening to a speaker on the subject of belief and lack of belief. Something went off inside and I cried for 2 hours straight. That is so right. I bawled my eyes out. I still remember it. I was bawling. I realised that I'd been holding on to this feeling of lack of accomplishment since I was 20 years old. That's when I gave up on my tennis career and gave up on me. It was deep-seated, as you can imagine, but it was the release I needed in order to move forward. So I was 45 when it really hit me, this lack of belief. Like I said, I was on this journey from the age of 34 onwards trying to discover what held me back in tennis, because I'd taken up golf and I didn't want my tennis demons to come back and haunt me. So don't hold back on you. You are worth it. Now answer that question before we continue. I will remind you again, write out this question and answer it. What will happen if I don't believe in me? That's what we want to do right now. Answer that question. What will happen if I don't believe in me? Awesome. Okay, so how'd you go? Did you answer that question yet? If not, make sure you do that at the end of this episode. What we're also going to be looking at is we're going to rate ourselves in our belief system of where we're at right now, and then we're going to look at a way in which we can get our belief system moving upwards. Okay? So again, I'm going to read you another paragraph out of my book because we're talking about belief, and that whole chapter is all about belief. So how would you rate your belief in you? How would you rate your belief in you today? If 10 was rated as the highest, where would you have ultimate belief in your abilities, and 1 is the lowest, where you have no belief whatsoever? How would you rate yourself? So what we want to be doing here is we want to be rating ourselves between 1 and 10, where our belief system is about ourselves. Not only in sport, but just in general. So you can we can apply this to your sport though. What is your belief in your sports ability right now? Somewhere between 1, somewhere between 10. Okay, mine's 10. Used to be about 4, or even less, maybe even 1 year ago, but it's 10 now. So if you scored 10, congratulations, you are halfway there towards achieving your dream. There will be more to do than just having a high belief system. But this is awesome because you will not question yourself when times get tough. When it becomes challenging, you are tested. You will have the strength to be able to work through it. So congratulations. If you scored less than 10, then we've got some work to do. Okay, so what we're going to be working through, we're actually going to work through step 2 in this belief question from my chapter of belief. And what you're going to be doing is starting to set up some standards for yourself in the way in which you speak. So I'm just going to talk you through this through my step 2 part on your standards, and then I want you to start creating your own standards, because this is how we're going to start building that belief within ourselves so that we can build that self-confidence. So what are your standards? So your standards are how you expect yourself to operate on a daily basis, what you expect of you. So what you want to do is you want to write down these standards and place them on the wall near your desk or in your bedroom or somewhere you can see them every day. Some people have affirmation cards beside their bed. Some people have them down, where they do some work with their laptop and so forth. Some people might have it in the mirror in their bathroom, wherever it is that's going to remind you to look at it every day. There's a great book called Tiny Habits. A great habit for you to do is like when you get up in the morning and you get out, before you get out of bed, my habit is, before I get out of bed, is to read out my standards of how I want to be today. That's a good one to do, okay? Okay, so here's some examples. My standards. I have respect for everyone I speak with. I write in my evidence journal every day. It's like a journal, like evidence of seeing the great things that are happening in your life. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. I work out at the gym every day. I eat a healthy breakfast, lunch and dinner that gives me energy and focus. I eat healthy snacks throughout the day to look after my body. When I'm working on my goals, I am focused and stay present. I set my intentions of what I want to achieve each day. Right, so there's some simple examples of how you want to operate. You could do lots of other things as well around your sport, but let's start with something really simple so that we're working on creating that positive talk, positive thoughts, so that you're setting yourself up with the expectations of treating yourself with more respect. When you treat yourself with more respect, you're going to feel better within, okay? So that's what you want to be focusing on today, to start building that belief within you. Okay, so I hope you got a lot out of that today. You've got some work to do working on building your belief within you. You've got some exercises to work on. That is fantastic. So I'd love if you could share with me what it is that you're working on. So wherever you hear this episode, to share with me below what you're actually working on, and also what it is that you like best about what you heard today. That'd be great. And if you haven't yet downloaded my 3 steps to building self-confidence, you just go to my website, tiffany-micah.com. You just go there. I have the 3 steps to building self-confidence. You can download that so that you can understand what those 3 steps are. It's the HAS confidence formula. You'll need to have a look at that so you know what you need to be focusing on to build that confidence. And so I'd love to see you download that and keep in contact with me how you're working on in building your confidence. And like I said, if you really enjoyed what you heard today, leave a message below what you like best about what you heard. And for now though, I want you to dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams. Have an absolutely awesome day. Take care. Talk soon. Bye for now.